Hello and welcome to another video produced by the CQI team for the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Today's video is about utilizing the UNCOPE assessment on InFocus. The UNCOPE assessment is a 6-question substance abuse screening tool used to identify individuals who are at risk of substance addiction. Although independent of structured decision making, the UNCOPE tool will be used at the time of the safety and risk assessment for each adult in the child abuse neglect intake accepted for safety assessment. The 6 questions are: have you ever spent more time drinking or using than you intended? Have you ever neglected some of your usual responsibilities because of using alcohol or drugs? Have you ever wanted to cut down or stop using alcohol or drugs but couldn't? Has your family, a friend, or anyone else ever told you that they objected to your alcohol or drug use? Have you ever found yourself preoccupied with wanting to use alcohol or drugs? And finally, have you ever used alcohol or drugs to relieve emotional discomfort such as sadness, anger, or boredom? The UNCOPE screening process will be completed during the initial safety and risk assessment period with all household adults in child abuse and neglect accepted intakes. The UNCOPE screening process does not drive safety and risk determinations. It is a standalone process to assist the CFS specialist in gathering additional information about the family and about issues that may be contributing to child maltreatment or risk of maltreatment. Information needed to utilize UNCOPE will be gathered during interviews with the family, collateral interviews, observations, and review of records, like law enforcement reports. The CFS specialist will answer each question based on the information gathered. If the CFS specialist receives conflicting information, the CFS specialist must reconcile the information by assessing the reliability and validity of the information and make a decision based on that analysis. There is also a Current Protection and Safety Administrative Memo, number 19/2012, that deals with use of the UNCOPE assessment. Once the interviews, observations, and review of records has been completed after assessing the information, it is time to enter the information on InFocus. The next slides will walk you through how to enter this information on InFocus. Start by locating the master case. Once you're in the master case, double-click on the CFS case. Then click on the SDM icon on the bottom row of icons at the top. Once a household name is selected, the UNCOPE icon at the top becomes accessible. Clicking on the UNCOPE icon will bring up the Detail UNCOPE Assessment window. Click on the black arrow by name. This will bring up the household persons that you can select to complete the UNCOPE assessment for. Once the household person is selected, you can then use the black arrow by Completed By to select your name as completing the UNCOPE assessment. You can then enter the date completed and enter yes or no to the 6 UNCOPE questions. You can also enter comments below as needed. Once at least one UNCOPE assessment has been entered and saved, every time you access the UNCOPE assessment icon, it will historically list all UNCOPE assessments completed within your SDM household. You have completed interviews, observed, reviewed records, and entered the UNCOPE assessment on InFocus. Now what should you do to address a possible substance use problem for one of your families? A score of 2 or more on the UNCOPE tool means the individual or individuals should be referred for a formal assessment or evaluation to determine if he or she would benefit from substance abuse treatment. For individuals and families who are determined to be low or moderate risk on the SDM risk assessment tools, the CFS specialist will discuss with him or her the findings of the screening and recommend further evaluation of the individual's substance use. The CFS specialist will provide information about available services or resources in the community to access this evaluation. For those individuals whose household risk level is high or very high and they have an UNCOPE score of 2 or more, the CFS specialist will discuss the findings of the screening and request further evaluation if substance use was a factor in the intake findings, in any maltreatment, in any identified safety threat, or the individual scored higher than 0 on the substance abuse related questions on the SDM risk assessment, which is R12 and R13. The CFS specialist will provide resource information and assist the individual in locating an appropriate and affordable provider to complete the substance abuse evaluation. The CFS specialist will document the UNCOPE assessment on InFocus within 30 days of the intake being accepted for assessment. Should you have any questions about the UNCOPE assessment, please speak with your supervisor or send an email to dhhs.cqi@nebraska.gov.